Good evening, and welcome to Suffering in Silence with Evangelist Tia. We're here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Love Bay family, we're continuing to rise out of the ashes together. Our topic on tonight is emotional abuse. We have with us our co-host, Bob Wood, and our guest for this evening is Kendria Johnson. She's an author, speaker, and business owner. Listeners, if you have any questions or comments for our guest or our co-host, you can email me at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com, or you can send us a text message at 437-778-3299. And if you have resources that you would like to share with us on a national or local level from your country, your community, local organizations, or your faith community, you can also email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. And with that, Bob, if you would greet our listeners on tonight.
Certainly. Thank you for having me here. Always a pleasure to be here and a privilege. Bob Wood. Right now, I'm actually a retired Title IX coordinator but I work in a consultant capacity and doing some voiceover work. So I'm always happy to be here, and it's a pleasure to meet Ms. Johnson. So glad you're with us, and always a pleasure to work with you, Tia, as you know. So anyway, welcome.
And you have to throw in, you are the board president of Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc.
I'm sorry. I tend to sit on my old Navy routine of not being impressed with my titles. Tia very, very graciously asked me to be the president of Rising Out of the Ashes, and I'm rising out of the ashes with everybody. So it's my privilege. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Kendria, if you would take a moment to introduce yourself and share your contact information as well. I see your website. So if you would share your information with our viewers and listeners.
Oh, sure. Yes. Thank you for having me first off. And thank you Bob, for that wonderful introduction. I'm like you. I don't really like to toot my own horn sometimes, but I guess I guess I'll start with my name is Kendria Johnson. I am considered a teacher coach. So I teach during the day, and then at night, my second job is as coaching and mentoring teachers through burnout and other issues that they might be having in their career. I'm a 22-year vet of teaching. I currently live in Abu Dhabi. That's usually the most interesting fact people remember about me. I've been living here for about 9 years now. And but I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. So that's where my family's from. Shout out to Dallas, Texas. And basically, I'm just here to make a difference in the lives of educators. That's my new journey. If you were interviewing me 25 years ago, I would say I want to be the best teacher I want to be. And now I'm saying, I want to be the best teacher I want to be and still have a life.
Awesome.
Still have a life, yes.
That makes a lot of sense. And so your website is
Yes.
I am Kendria
J.com.
And listeners, we want to spell Kendria's name for you, Kendria. So I am Kendria J.com. So please visit her website to get some more information. Listeners, we want to remind you that we are Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. We are in the process of raising funds for our nonprofit. So if you want to make a tax-deductible donation, you can go to GoFundMe and look for Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. Or you can write a check payable to Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. If you prefer to write a check, then just send an email to me and I will let you know where to mail that check. But to provide some more information, one of our endeavors is immediate and emergency funding. And what we do with that, what we've done in the past for victims and survivors, we've paid for doctor visits, we've paid for transportation. And when I say transportation, I mean we've helped some victims and survivors move from one location to another, leaving from one city to another or one state to another to get to a place that's safe. We've helped individuals with food, clothing, school supplies for their children, medication, personal toiletries. We've helped with utilities, rent, mortgage. Those are some of the things that we've done, and we want to be able to continue to do those things, and we need help to do it. Everything that we've done in the past has financially come from myself and members of my board. They've put in personal finances and in endeavors that they've helped individuals with also. And we just can't continue to do it personally. If I could, I would, but now I need help. So if you would like to donate, you can visit, as I said, GoFundMe and look for Rise Out of the Ashes Inc. Um, Another resource we want to share is Pastor Darius Daniels. He's the pastor of Change Church. His website is dariusdaniels.com, and his YouTube channel is Darius Daniels TV. We want to share substance abuse mental health services, the national helpline. This is in the United States. Their number is 800-662-4357. And then we want to share the Befrienders Volunteer Action to Prevent Suicide. To find a helpline by your country, you can visit their website, which is www.befrienders.org. And with that, on tonight, listeners and viewers, we move into our topic of emotional abuse.
Mhm.
And I think the first thing that I want to do is I know we've emphasized this and said this before, but I want to again make the declaration that when we say domestic violence, we often think of spouses, we often think of significant others,
Mm.
but the correct terms for that would be intimate partner violence. Domestic violence covers individuals that you are related to. So it could be a situation between siblings. It could be parent or child. It could be any dynamic of individuals who are related if they are experiencing violence. And that's what the term domestic violence covers. Um, and I say that because I wanted to lead into the point of we also know that abuse is not just physical. There are several different kinds and areas of abuse, including verbal, mental, emotional, financial, and spiritual abuse. So I just wanted to, I guess, put that reminder out there as we go into our conversation. Domestic violence covers all family members, and domestic violence, as we know, is not just physical; it's beyond that. Um, and so, with that, Kendria, first I would ask if you would just tell us a bit more about your business, and then from
Okay.
there, I want you to be able to then explore and tell your story, as you see fit, how you want to share.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Just let me know when you want me to stop talking because I am a teacher by trade. Because I can talk all day about all those topics you just mentioned. But as a school teacher, what I found very early in my career was that there is a lot of emotional manipulation and a lot of controlling issues that the systems have over us because they use our passion and our purpose to become teachers against us sometimes. And I didn't realize it until, I started to feel like, they try to manipulate you into thinking, you're not a good teacher if you don't stay
Mhm.
late, you don't work on the weekends, you're not, taking phone calls from parents at 11 o'clock at night. And I connected those two things together when I was experiencing burnout for the first time. And I didn't have the vocabulary for that, in the language for all of that 10 years or 15 years ago. But I remember being just emotionally drained because what happened was I was taking home the problems of my kids. I was taking home the problems of my coworkers. I was taking home the problems, everyone else's problems, and I was absorbing it like a sponge. And I didn't have time for myself. I didn't take care of myself. I didn't have self-care issues. I said any kind of self-care routines, and it just took its toll on my health. That's when it started to really affect me. When you're going to the doctor 6 times in a year,
Mhm.
or you've been in a hospital, or I'm having heart palpitations, my hair was falling out. I had high blood pressure and low iron. So all of these things were happening in at one setting. Literally, I was taking pills for everything, and I did some inner work on myself, and I went back all the way to childhood. Like you were saying earlier, it's just some abuses doesn't leave scars. So I had to face some of those scars that I had in my childhood. I was a people pleaser. I got my value and my worth from taking care of other people and putting them first, and not taking care of myself. And this was the key, trying to make other people happy.
Mhm.
Man, if your audience could just really get delivered from that, trying to make other people happy. Happiness is a journey that is self-fulfilling. You cannot make other people happy if they're not happy within themselves. You just can't do it.
Mhm.
And so once I connected all those dots, and I just to be clear and be transparent, I did go and see a mental health professional. I had to, because I couldn't fix it myself. And I had a lot of people saying, well, just give it to God and pray about it. And I did. And I did all that, but it wasn't working. So I had to go outside of myself and make sure that I spoke with someone who could help me diagnose what was going on mentally and emotionally with me. And once I got to the triggers of all of those things, and once I got to the core of those things in my personal life, then things in my professional life started to change.
Mhm.
And I started to do some inner work in, how does this affect me? How do I feel about that? What do I want? What is my purpose? Why am I here? How did I get here? And I started to ask myself those questions and answer them. And I wrote things down like I always do. I wrote things down. So that's why I have, a couple of books. I forgot to mention that I had wrote a couple of books about it. And this last book was that journey that I went through as a teacher, um, getting delivered from, that's not my job to make you happy. And a no is okay. No is okay. No is a complete sentence. And it's okay if I use that, because
Absolutely.
that preserves my mental health state. It preserves my emotional state. And how you feel about the no is really not even my business. It's my job to take care of me, and it's my job to make me happy. It is my responsibility to be responsible for my happiness. It's not anybody else's job to take care of those things for me, my emotional needs for me. So that's a little bit about how those two worlds kind of collided for me, is how I connected my childhood, taking care of my mother, and having being raised by a single parent, not having a father figure in the household. All of those things contributed to who I am, but it also gave me some really, really bad buttons that were being pushed by society, that were being pushed by
Mhm.
other people, being pushed by partners, life partners, and people that I was seeing and dating. And all of those things were connected. And as much as I would love to tell my teachers, I tell anybody in any profession, oh, leave who you are at home. You can't. You can't separate your personality from what you do. So just have those things compartmentalized and worked out. Because when you're with children, they can sense all of your insecurities. I don't know what it is about kids, but they can smell fear on you. They're gonna find your insecurity, and they're gonna push those buttons, and they're gonna bring
Mhm.
those things out in you, whether you like it or not. So I had to do a lot of inner work, and that's been a 20-year journey to get here. But my goal now today is to help someone else who get through that journey. My goal now is to talk to other educators who are, basically fed up, burn out, and purposed out of their positions, and they're blaming the principals, they're blaming the kids, they're blaming the environment, they're blaming society, they're blaming all these other things, when sometimes it's just us taking on too much, doing too much, not saying no, not taking care of us, not putting ourselves first, because teachers have this, are notorious for being what we call compassionate, um, over compassionate. We're over compassionate, and we are over givers. And but that's good for the kids, but
Yes,
sometimes it can leave your cup empty.
Mhm.
And that's just a little bit about me.
absolutely. Um, so at first, just listening to you, I mean, you said just so many wonderful things. The first thing that came to my mind, listeners, I want to say this, Love Bay, prayer and counseling go together.
They do.
They go together.
Mhm.
Uh, I can't say it any better than that. Prayer and
Yeah.
counseling go together. And you, as you talked about childhood, I can say from my experience what I went through, and getting through my issues of domestic violence and working on it and going through my healing process. The work that I've done on myself, the healing that I've come through, the healing that's still happening because it's a process that I believe
Mhm.
continues. I can honestly say my work, my effort, my process brought me back to my childhood. It brought me back to me having to deal with the emotional issues from child,
Yep.
because I can say I'm in a very good place now, after having, dealt with my ex-husband and all of that. But all of that brought me back to the little girl.
Yep.
So all of my trust issues did not come from that marriage. Everything that was harmful or hurtful did not come from that marriage. And what I can see now, today, in hindsight, is that there was emotional abuse that in some ways even led me down that path. I didn't know it. And it's like hindsight truly is 2020. But to
Yeah.
be able to look back and look at my life and see some things and just recognize that emotional abuse was always there. I was having a conversation with one of my dear friends, Cheryl. I don't know why we were talking about this, but I was saying, oh, because I was talking to some police officers, and I was saying to these officers, you have to be able to, when you have a call, when you step into a situation and is dealing with domestic violence, you need to be able to read the situation. You can't just assume that because a person is hysterical, that there's something wrong with him, or that because a person is calm, that they have it all together. I was just telling them, you have to be able to read the situation, which means you need some training. You need to understand trauma. You need to understand that everyone is not going to have the same reactions. And in talking to them, I said, even when I relay my own story, I've just told my story so many times. Even in the beginning, when I first opened up, I can tell you my story without crying. I can tell you my story of what I endured, without getting upset about it. I can just do it. I can just tell you that. So a lot of people looked at me and said, you can't be a victim of domestic violence because you have it together, because you're not crying, you're not breaking down, you have, you can get a sentence out. And so I
Okay.
to emphasize, there is no one pet, answer. You can't put us in a box. And so as I was talking to Cheryl, she said, you know why you're able to do that? Tell your story and just get it out. She said, because you've been doing it since you were a child. Because as a child, I had to go to school and I had to put on a face, in front of my teachers. I couldn't tell my teachers what was happening at home. I couldn't tell my friends what was going on around me. And she said, unfortunately, like, you were already prepared because you've been doing it since childhood. So I think we do have to give more attention to emotional abuse, because it is
Yeah.
a real thing.
It is.
You have to understand the dynamic of parents and children, how parents can sometimes it's not intentional. Sometimes their parents do not get up and say, I'm going to break my child's spirit on today.
Yes. Yes.
Unfortunately, it happens. It's a real
Yes.
thing. It has to be dealt with. There are too many people still being told today that you need to just suck it up. You
Yeah.
have to have tough skin. You walk in there and you hold your tears in, and we're still teaching people to ignore your feelings.
Yeah.
We're teaching people, in order to make it in a corporate world,
Mm-hmm.
in order to make it in ministry, you just have to suck it up, keep your mouth shut, and keep moving forward like a soldier in the army. You just keep
Yeah.
going. And I think we're feeding the flames of emotional abuse. You really
Yeah.
have to call it out, identify it for what it is, and then deal with it on the side of the victim or survivor, and the side of the perpetrator. No, it's not okay to stand in somebody's face yelling and spitting, and you just say, I was just, I was really passionate about it. No, that's not passion. Okay, that's that's really sick that we can just explain it away, you know.
Yes.
And then even on top of that, to be able to say, if you go pray, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Read these scriptures and your feelings will line up. If another
Yeah.
person has said to me, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning, I'm like, get out my face. But all of that to say,
Yeah.
Emotional abuse is a real thing.
It is.
It is. It's a real thing.
Mhm.
Bob, do you have a question or a comment for Kendria?
Um, well, the one comment I'll make as far as education, because as you know, I was a police officer, then I went into education.
Mhm.
And one thing I noticed, I ran a school in Baltimore City that was for, quote, high at risk students,
Mhm.
who had been removed from every school in the city.
Mhm.
Three-hour sessions a day, all computer assisted instruction. And I am brand new to education. And I asked the school, why are you putting me as the director? I mean, the ink just dried on my degree. Why am I here? Well, you're used to working in these. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake. Anyway, that
Mhm.
was the mentality. I said, I'm not a cop. I'm a teacher. Understand that. Two different areas, two completely different areas. I am not here to be a cop. I am here to teach and try to help. Anyway, I think the thing that frustrated me the most, and I'm sure you've seen this with teachers, and there was no, I I'll talk about feeling helpless in my childhood later, but I felt
Mhm.
completely helpless. We
Yeah.
had about an 85% success rate with these students, which was good, which means they went on to either get a GED, got back in a classroom, got their high school degrees. Um, and yeah, I did the staying after the school had closed and started a soccer program, and I took it home. Yeah, I did. I have to admit it.
Mhm.
But once we went down the road of about 2 or 3 years of success, and documented success by people at Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, people much more intelligent than I, the federal funding dried up. They pulled it.
Mhm.
And I, I almost went up the wall. I said, you have students who are coming out of environments you don't understand at
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
They're struggling. I mean, I very quickly, one young lady, her uncle already had her on the street working, and she's trying to go
Mhm.
to school. And I used to go with my truck and pick my kids. I was like, "You're going to school today? Get in my car. Come on, we're going."
Mhm.
I know I violated all kinds of things, but I got them in that
Yeah.
building. I said, "You teach them how to swim, and then you throw them an anchor.
Yeah.
You put them right. That's not fit. That does more damage than having done nothing."
Mhm.
And it was so frustrating to me. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you have dealt with teachers who have been in that position,
Yeah.
and it's just so difficult. Now, just if I may, commenting on what you have both said from childhood. Um, yeah, oh, absolutely. What
Yeah.
what comes forward from childhood? Um, my mother just had bad luck with men. Period.
Mhm.
Ended. Never met my biological father. That anger stayed with me
Mhm.
for quite a while.
Mhm.
um, Her Wood, who she eventually married, was a decent guy till he drank, and that was too often.
Mhm.
And it culminated one evening with me yanking him out of bed, saying, "You ever touch her again?" Well, I'm not going to go into the whole statement, but you.
Yeah.
And I worked construction with him, and it was nothing to be pulled up in front of all the other workers and be called an idiot, an ass, or this or that. And I
Mhm.
won't, what you had said before, and I think people fail to understand this. No, you don't see the scars
No.
of emotional abuse,
Mhm.
but you better believe they're there.
Mhm.
Um, I had one of my best friends in college. I attempted to play football in college, skinny kid trying to play football, but carry it that far, was our center. And his comment to me, and this was how I learned to live.
Mhm.
My attitude, my demeanor kept people away from me. He
Mhm.
said, "I can see you coming a mile across campus." I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "You walk like you're going to a gunfight."
Mhm.
And that was from, I didn't,
Mhm.
back off, don't back off me. It's what you radiated. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
a lot, and of course, in police work, talk about a group that will push your buttons, because if you really care about that job,
Mhm.
oh boy, can they push buttons.
Yeah.
Um, and but that is really finally what drove me to a psychologist, mental health professional.
Mhm.
Um, because the anger with me was starting to take a toll on my skin, hives. I could, um, and the heavy bag just wasn't getting the job done,
Mhm.
Mhm.
no matter how much I got frustration out. So,
Mhm.
and it was funny because then I'll just take that career. In that particular career, kind of like the military, I was in the Navy and I loved it, no complaints. But if you were at that time, I'm 70, so we're going back. If you were at that time to raise your hand and say, "Hey, I need to speak with a psychiatrist or psychologist inside a police department," you were tagged.
Mm,
What's
Yeah.
wrong with you? You know, you're not. Wait a minute, you're not. You know, you're breaking down the job. Why?
mhm,
It's not the job. It's what's inside the department that's breaking me down.
mhm.
So, and it's the same in teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, by the time I got to teaching, I had already survived that one, and I kind of looked at people and went, "You're playing with the wrong person." In fact, Tia knows I was ordered once not to conduct a Title IX investigation, which, as you know, I just immediately said to that administrator, "You're not going to like me if you do that."
Mhm,
They did, and the Office of Civil Rights got a 120-page report, and the school immediately fell into an investigation. And I went, "Told you,"
mhm,
you know. But that there were, I know, even in Title IX, there are coordinators that would not have taken that step because of the pressure, because of the
mhm.
fears, because of the. And I'm like, man, I've already. Nobody's trying to shoot me, hit me with a car, throw a brick at me. So go ahead, you can
Yeah.
holler till Hades freezes over.
Mhm.
But it's hard, and in dealing with that stress can, like I said, I know personally it can impact you physically, as you stated when you
Mhm.
began talking. So
Yeah.
um, it's real.
It
Yeah.
It's
is.
absolutely real.
So Bob, like you talked about in the moment you said someone else looked at you and could see you, and he said your anger is radiating off of you.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
you talked about the physical reactions that you had, and Kendria, the physical reactions that you had. And I know
Mhm.
um, for me, one of the consequences of emotional abuse for me is trust issues.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
there are effects. But Kendria, I would ask you if you could
Yeah.
expound on not dealing with those effects.
Wow. Well, not dealing with those effects. It's like everything else. If anything you don't deal with, it manifests in different ways,
Hmm.
right? So, a little bit about my backstory is because I was raised by a single mother who was extremely emotionally abusive because she was emotionally abused.
Hmm.
She took out a lot of anger on me, and she basically projected a lot of her self hatred on me. And it almost felt like a goal of hers to make me hate myself. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so when it didn't stick, because of course I'm, this beautiful black woman you see in front of me, it didn't stick. But then we would fight more because it would, you're not going to call me stupid again. That's not going to happen. I'm not stupid. I have two degrees to your high school diploma. You can't call me that anymore. And when I started to stand up for myself, I realized that what I was doing, the effects of what was happening to me in my personal life as a young adult, teenager, and a grown up was manifesting itself in my professional life as well. And
Hmm.
so I'd have coworkers and principals that would, insinuate and imply that I was ignorant, or they would try to downplay something I was doing, or okay, that's enough, Miss Johnson, you can sit down now. And excuse me, I'm still talking. And so I found myself when I would confront my mother as an adult, because it took me a long time to be, because you're not supposed to talk back to your mama, this.
Hmm.
Not supposed to talk back to your mama. That's your mama. You're supposed to forgive her when she act up. When I started to confront her about her issues and really stand up to her, that started to translate in my professional life as well. And I would be in meetings with, grown-ups, and that would be like, you're not going to talk to me that way. We're going to conduct ourselves as professionals, and I have a degree just like you do. And I'd shock myself. Like, did I say that? Did that come from me? But that was a process. And it took a while for me to be able to stand in my own truth, to be able to love myself enough to say, you know what, this is not acceptable behavior. And to be able to say, to get out of personal relationships. It wasn't even just male, female, where I was dating men that were disrespectful, just like my mother. I was dating men that would treat me like my mother would treat me.
Hmm.
It was friendships too. A lot of women that I would come in contact with would always find ways to, put me down, or if I accomplished something, I would be, embarrassed to share it. If I shared it, they would, that's that little business you got. I heard you writing a little book. They would do things like that, and then I started to notice it quicker. And as I've gotten older, I will put it in its place very, very quickly. And I said to myself, self, and self said yes. Listen, if we got to live this life alone and whole, that's what we're going to do. You don't have to have these friends. You don't have to speak to your mother on a regular basis. You don't have to work at that job. You don't have to be around people that don't honor you.
Yeah.
And I agreed with myself when I said that to myself,
Mhm.
20 years ago, but and we have been on this journey ever since. And so I think the original question was, how does it show up? How does if you don't deal with it, how does it show up? It
Hmm.
keeps coming up. And until you deal with it, until I saw some help, some mental health professionals, until I started to do the inner work. Because again, the other part of the component of it was, you said, prayer works, but it goes along with counseling. But you have to
Hmm.
do what the counselor's telling you to do.
Mhm.
When you're working
Yes.
with someone and they give you these assignments to do, like go and talk to your 10-year-old self. I did not want to do that. It took me 3 weeks to do that, to talk
Yes.
to that 10-year-old girl and tell her it was going to be okay, and hug her and cry with her.
Hmm.
And it took a while for me to get through that work. And once I got through it, I was like, wow, this thing really, really, really does resonate. And so all the effects of my childhood are still there, but I can recognize when I'm, drifting into that, people pleasing mode now, and I can stop myself from doing it. And I'm still a compassionate teacher. I give everything. I still buy stuff for my kids. I still do
Mhm.
for my, I still go above and beyond for my school, but I take care of Kendra first.
Yeah.
She is my first priority, first, period. Not my mother, not the school, not the principal, and not, other people's kids. Me. I have to take care of me so I can be the best version of me for you. But that again, and everybody who sees me speak, Miss Tia, says, "Oh, you're so strong. How can I be like you? I'm just not like you, Miss Johnson. How would you get, baby? That was a work. That's why I'm a coach. That's why I chose this profession, this extra profession, to be able to help someone get there, because it's no fun being on the other side of through by myself. So
Hmm.
once that door was open for me and I walked through it, now my goal is, all right, come over here and I show other people how to get through that door. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, to answer my question, and I love what you said about being alone and
Hmm.
Mhm.
whole, because that is absolutely beautiful. I have done work on top of work in my healing process, dealing with relationships, because I said, my next relationship, my next marriage, is just going to be different. This
Hmm.
I'm just not going through anything like that again. That I got my thumb on. I
Hmm.
think what you said about friendships,
Hmm.
that took me by surprise, because I had to deal with emotional abuse and friendships.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And for me, because of what I went through, because of my childhood, because of my marriage, and I had one relationship after uh, my marriage, and it just wasn't good. But because of those failed relationships, I looked for friendships
Hmm.
to be the support that I needed, and friendships have failed. I think I've learned in 2023. I
Hmm.
have learned um, a true disappointment in what I thought were friendships. So
Yeah.
for me, like I am just now getting the lesson on being alone and whole when it comes to what I thought were friendships.
Hmm.
To be in a friendship with someone who you can see, this person is not only jealous of me, this person actually wants to be me. That's not a good feeling. That's
Right.
not you you don't just want my house, my car. You want to be me. That's not a good feeling. And as you the slight remarks to
Hmm.
your little book, your little business, or whatever,
Hmm.
that's not a good feeling.
Hmm.
And for me, I had to stop letting things slide. I had
Hmm.
to uh, I had to stop being so nice.
Hmm.
And but for me to there are I think the end result for me was, and this is our word we always use, boundaries. I had to reset some boundaries.
Yes.
Again, I had that down pat with relationships,
Hmm.
romantic relationships, but friendships was a whole new lane for me because I didn't expect to need it in that area. And I
Mhm.
think my heart was hurting so much that, I opened my heart and I let some things slide that I shouldn't have. And
Mhm.
I allowed myself to go through some things that I shouldn't have. But now, I allow myself to quickly recognize, what is and what isn't. Um, and it's not easy.
Friendship.
It's
Mhm.
not fun, but I have to
Mhm.
be responsible to myself and for myself.
Mhm.
And so, and for me, that's every area of my life. If I'm dealing with work, if I'm dealing with ministry, I'm dealing with a nonprofit, if I'm dealing just personal things, I have a responsibility to myself. I am important. And so, and I
Mhm.
say that, love babe, to you all, to our listeners, to our viewers, you are important. It's
Mhm.
not okay, for someone to put you down and then laugh about it and make a little
Yeah.
joke. I don't
Mhm.
do well with jokes. I don't do well with the sarcasm. If you say something that just doesn't sound right to me, we need to talk about this.
Mhm.
And I'm not just going to tuck it away and forget about it.
Mhm.
No, if I tuck it away and we don't deal with it in that moment, we're going to deal with it later. So
Mhm.
it's things like that. No, you deserve the respect that you give,
Mhm.
respect that you're supposed to get. Um,
Mhm.
and I learned that just like in romantic relationships, you need to be open, you need to be honest, you need to make sure
Mhm.
the two of you are on the same road, you walk in the
Mhm.
same path. Same as with a friendship.
Yep.
What are
It is.
we
Yeah.
getting out of this? Like, am I bringing everything to the table? Am I getting
Mhm.
the calls when you need time, when you need money, when you need whatever? And then when I need, you're not available, you're not
Yeah.
there. Or when I have a success, you can't celebrate with me.
Mm-mm.
I get, it's like
Yeah.
I'm,
Right
you
there.
know,
Mhm.
making a big deal out of myself. Like I'm showing off. Or,
Mhm.
I can't get a hand clap at all, like nothing. But
Yeah, mine, Miss T. I don't mean to interrupt, but mine was the birthdays. I'm going all out for your birthday, and I don't get a card. You show up to my
yeah,
stuff empty-handed. I don't get a card, and then you talking about me the whole time.
yes,
And I was like, "Oh no, that
I
was
got
it.
you. I mean,
That
I'm
was
a
it.
gift
That was
giver.
we
I
done.
give
Yeah,
gifts, and if you have
we're
children,
done.
I'm there for your
Mhm.
children. I give gifts, and then my kid's birthday come around, Christmas comes
Nothing?
around, and you don't get nothing.
Mm,
No, that's not.
no.
That's not cool. That's not
Your
okay.
your
But I,
friendship account is in the negative, and I need you to contribute as much as I'm contributing. Now,
yes,
you have to be careful not to have expectations of people based on what you do, but at the same time, watch them. Just watch very closely and make notes. I was making notes. I literally wrote down all the things I had done for this person, and then wrote down all the things that they had done for me. And that list was
yeah,
ugly, and it was a hard truth to face. And I recommend that to clients. Make some lists about what that school is doing for you and how you feel when you go to that school and the people you work with, and make lists in your life. When you see it in black and white, you can't deny it.
Yeah.
yeah,
You can't. It's really hard. You have to deal with it. And so, yeah, like you said, don't let nothing go.
yeah.
No, I don't like what you said there. I don't even like what you just said. I don't even like that. We'll talk about it later. Let's go ahead and finish drinking. But we'll talk about that later.
But and for me, I know me personally, I had to be honest. And Bob, I'll ask you to chime in on this. I
Mhm.
think there were some things that I overlooked,
Mhm.
or I would give a second chance where a second chance wasn't warranted
Mhm.
because I truly was hurting.
Mhm.
Um, because I did want, that closeness, not the romantic part, but true friends to be able to depend on. What
Mhm.
I knew I wanted was for somebody to be to me what I knew I was to everybody else. Because if you call me, I'm there. If you need
Mhm.
me, I'm there. And I wanted to have that person that would do that for me. And I didn't get that. And when I thought I had it, something uh, revealed to me, no, this is actually what this situation is.
Mhm.
But for me to be honest and sit and think, how did I get here? It's because I opened my heart and I trusted too much too fast because I was still hurting. Because there was a point where I wasn't okay with being alone and whole. I was okay with
Mhm.
being alone, not being in a romantic relationship, because I know
Mhm.
that's going to come when it's going to come. But my heart still longed for a true friendship. So I
Mhm.
knew I had to deal. Uh, there's a deeper level of hurt and pain that came from the emotional abuse all the way back in my life from a little girl. It didn't start with my ex-husband. So I had to be true to myself with that. And I would say, before I turn this over to you, Bob, you have to be very careful with your hurt and your pain, who you share that with. Yes, you have
Oh,
to.
yeah.
You have to work on it. You need care. If it's in your religious space or with counselors, you need to make sure that you're sitting before someone who understands and who can handle you properly. You can't give your hurt and pain to just anyone because everybody can't handle you. And that is what I learned in 2023. Everybody can't handle my hurt and my pain. Now I'm qualified to be there for you. I can help you. I can counsel you. I can minister to you. I can help you. But individuals could not give me that same in return. So I am just now learning to be alone and whole in that area of what I thought and what I believed true friendships are. And I mean on that, that really, really personal, intimate level, I learned not just anybody can come into that space. And I'm okay with that. I had to be okay with it. So Bob, you wanna chime in here?
Listening and thinking, and my own experience thinking, this is my personal opinion on this, and you all can jump right on this. I really truly believe a hurt from a friend or somebody you consider to be a true friend is probably more hurtful than a family member, because with your friend, you made the choice.
Mm-hmm.
You put your trust there. You weren't told, like you said, you don't talk back to your mama. I raised in an Irish household. That's the last thing you did.
Mm-hmm.
But with your friend, you've opened up, and when that goes south, so to speak, that can be very hurtful. It's that's hard when somebody you've held in that esteem
Yeah.
lets you down. Somebody in your family. I used to jokingly say, "Okay, we're having a family get together. Who's getting out of jail? Who's going to be here? Who's not?" It was like, your family. You're like, yeah, okay, there goes Uncle George again. But, and I've also 2 points I've known. I mean, I was very fortunate. There were 4 of us that came out of we all played ball in college together as a team, but we all came from the same background.
Mm.
Every single one of us came from dysfunctional homes as kids, and we gravitated together, and we were like that for 40 years. Unfortunately, I've lost my friends because of age and whatever, but that was a good, solid, and literally to their children, I'm Uncle Bob. Your friends will become your family.
Yeah.
It's there more so than your family. But I agree. That's difficult. And you do learn to kind of walk like you're going to a gunfight, because I'm not letting everybody in.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Yeah, that's a reality. That's a reality for me. The other thing that I want to put out, I was a Title IX coordinator. I've knocked wood, 13 years. Went from being in the classroom teaching to that position. And I've been fortunate. Some people have said, "How did you make it that long in such a stressful environment?" I said, "Well, again, this was my old career, and nobody's tried to throw a rock at me today or anything like that. I can take you hollering." But I've noticed that people that step into these roles, yourself, Tia, we've walked that road. There's more people that step into that, and I think that's that people pleasing that we get as children, because we do. We, as you said, God, I love my mother to death, so please don't get me wrong here, but I can't tell you how many times I was either compared to a father I didn't know, and of course, eventually, the smart remark, "Well, you really want to tell me about that?" And that usually ended up in an argument, or being compared to my mother in high school, like, "Well, I did this, this, and this." Yeah, that's nice. like I said, we've walked that road,
Mhm.
and I think we pick up on it quicker than other people who haven't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and again, as a, I'll put this out, and you can, again, please comment on this. To me, and I know this because we all have ups and downs, and
Mhm.
especially when I was going through. I won't get into everything in the department I went through, but again, I was that guy that was ordered to back off an investigation, and I went, no,
Mhm.
no, I'm not doing that. And of course, my life got a little complicated, um, but my friend, if I just needed to sit there and be quiet, sat there with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
What a
and that's what
blessing.
your friend will understand that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Your friend will, I just need to sit for him. I just need to sit. No problem. I'm here, and they'll sit with you
Yes.
for as long as that takes. And I honestly believe you can get that out of a good friend, probably more than a family, unless that family member really understands you.
Mhm.
Because they always, the expectation is, well, no, come on, you got to buck up, and you got to. I've been bucking up. Right now, I need to sit down.
Right. Exactly. And to have people who understand that. So
Yeah.
the people who are closest to me, we do share the same backgrounds. Bob and Jen. We either have the same stories or we're doing the same work. And I'm a different kind of person anyway. I just am. You'll never meet another me. So
Right.
I'm different. And then I have my background, dealing with domestic violence. I am
Mhm.
not what happened to me, but it
Mhm.
did happen to me. It's a part of my life. And everybody's not going to get that. Everybody's not going to understand that. It happened to me, but it did help to shape who I am today. Everybody doesn't get that. So everybody doesn't know how to handle me. But I
Mhm.
know the people that are closest to me, we do have the same backgrounds. We do have the same understandings. Like when I talk to Jen, I don't have to give her a backstory. If I say
Mhm.
I just need you to sit right there while
Mhm.
I sit right here, she gets it. She knows it. She
Mhm.
understands. Um, and and I think again, going back to Kendria, what you said earlier about expectations, I had
Mhm.
to learn to stop expecting from other
Mhm.
people what I give and what
Mhm.
I do, because some people aren't capable and some
Mhm.
people don't want to. Uh,
Mhm.
some people, look, it's just not going to happen. But I had to
Mhm.
accept that, and I had to
Mhm.
be okay with that. And that's a part of my healing journey. It's a part of my lessons, that I've learned. And Bob, what you said about uh, feeling bad about decisions you made, because if it's a friendship that doesn't work, you chose that person, and I
Mhm.
have had
Mhm.
that feeling, like I chose this person. I chose to open up to this person, and look what happened.
Mhm.
So I know what that feels like, and I don't want to say that you should never try for friendships, that you should
Yeah.
never ever, be open or move forward, because unfortunately, you have to try. At
Mhm.
some point, you have to put yourself out there a little bit. But what I learned is you don't throw your whole heart out there. You don't just
Mhm.
trust is earned. You
Yes.
it
Yeah.
has to be earned. I was just giving it. It's like
Mhm.
it's like if we're thinking the same, and I think what,
Mhm.
I was just giving it without it being earned, and so I learned some hard lessons. So I'm not
Mhm.
telling anyone or advising anyone to completely shut down, because that's
Mhm.
not good. Because at some points that's what I did. I shut down. Like, I don't need you. I don't need you, and I'm good in this bubble by myself.
Mhm.
That's not life. That's not how you live
Mhm.
life. But I've learned how to navigate in the right way. And so, again, you have to be careful, you
Mhm.
have to be mindful, and you have to be honest about your situation. I had to
Mhm.
be honest about the little girl in me. I had to be
Mhm.
honest. Why do I want these friendships so badly? Why do I feel like I need it? And
Mhm.
all of it went back to the hurt and pain. All of it went back to the little girl. Bob.
Mhm.
I think what you just said is so pertinent and important in this conversation because, as you say, going back to being the little guy that I was, trying to figure out things, and the little girls that you all were, we wanted to please those people in our lives, mom, that person,
Hmm.
and we carried that. And there was always that we want to make that connection. We want to be the person
Hmm.
that the crowd likes. We want to be, and then I suddenly really, it like it is a definite learning process,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
it takes. I live by this. Courage is not always loud. Sometimes it's very quiet. And I get
Hmm.
up and I try again tomorrow. And it's that inner courage that you finally come to and say, you know what? I'm okay standing here like just like a tree
Hmm.
by myself. I'm good. But it's a definite journey and a process. And I think again that is one of the residuals that comes from having walked that road as a child.
Yeah.
That just trying to make everybody happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Everybody
Kendria,
has fun today.
I would ask you, what one of the things that we like to do here on the program is to give practical steps. Like we never want to just say to someone,
Right.
"You're in an abusive relationship, get out of it," and leave it at that. So what would be your advice to our listeners and viewers to get out of or move forward from emotional abuse? Some very simple, practical steps. I know you've mentioned counseling
Hmm.
already, but just some practical things.
Well, the first thing is Bob was talking, and you were, speaking as well, is that it kept popping in my head like a flashing light was
Mhm.
forgiveness.
Hmm.
Now, forgiveness is a hard word for a lot of people, especially people who have been in abusive relationships. It's a tough road for people, and it's a hard word to swallow because they keep people always assume that you're meaning that that I forgive this person, meaning that they excuse their behavior. It does not. It absolutely does not. But forgiveness for me, the road started for because again, it was a process. I forgave my mother today, and then Monday I'd be mad at her again, right?
Yes.
But um, um, what helped me understand it was, so the first step I would say, if anybody was writing it down, I'd say forgiveness. But the first step to that was taking responsibility for my choices and how I
Mhm.
got here. And when we're talking about the friends and the relationships and the things, what was wrong with me that I was attracting these people? What was going on in my spirit that I kept attracting people that would hurt me and use me or I didn't trust or they weren't trustworthy? And then I forgave them and I forgave myself. I forgave them and I forgave myself. And I took responsibility for, I'm almost 50 years old and I'm still attracting women that are mistreating me. What is going on with me? Let me go do some more inner work. And then I was like, oh, I know what it is. And then I'd forgive myself for it. I'd forgive myself for it and say, you know what, that's okay. Bless her heart. And she didn't mean it. She don't know no better. She don't even know the jewel that she had with me and how she misused it. But I forgave that person by forgiving myself. And it's a tough road and it's a long stretch. I know I'm condensing it in one conversation, but it's a lot of work to be done between those two steps because hurting
Mhm.
people hurt people. And once I
Mhm.
understood my mother's background, her being a dark-skinned black woman in the South, and then being,
Mhm.
with hatred issues and racism, and I understood where her hurt was coming from, it was easier to forgive her. It was understanding from her that, oh, I get it now. I get why you would spit out all of this venom on me because you didn't like yourself. I get that now. But so forgiveness is number one. Number two, I would say speaking on it and actually taking responsibility for what you are bringing to the table and your own healing. Those people that have hurt you, they may never apologize. Stop waiting on it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Stop waiting on it. They may never even acknowledge that they've done anything wrong to you. Stop waiting on it. Do the work for you and do it for yourself by yourself if you have to. Get some help, of course, if you can afford it. There's always mental health counselors out there that will give you some free services sometimes. There's always a 800 number. The one I'm thinking about, I don't think is actually valid in the States, but there's always somewhere you can call where you can maybe get some help, but they will help you work through those things. And the third thing I would say is, I personally write everything down. Okay, that's why I'm an author. But I write everything down. Start journaling, writing those feelings down when you're about to go off on somebody and you're feeling a certain way and all the things that have happened to you. Write all of it down, all of it. That's my first book. I wrote it all down. My first book was that journey from, being a teenager all the way up until where I got where I was, of all the feelings and all the hurt and all the pain, all the things. And when you read your own story, you're like, okay, all right, that's me. Okay, that was them. Okay, that's definitely them. Okay, I didn't have any choices on that one, but that one, that's not me, and that's me. That one's me, and that's not me. And you start to take inventory of your life. Some people we just keep moving, and Maya Angelou says that some people get older, but they don't grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You
Yes.
have to do the work in order to be able to call yourself a mature individual, and you're walking around hurting other people because you hurt. You ain't dealt with your pain. And so those three things together, all those three things help me function in the world that I'm living in. And I hope that answers the question. I hope those
Yes.
three things help
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
it does. It answers the questions. And you said everything that I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
The forgiveness and speaking on it. Um, I would add to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to walk away, and you don't have to give explanations. Because
Yep.
I've been through processes where I spoke on issues and got a response that was inappropriate. Like, okay, I'm done now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because every issue or every comment, every action does not deserve a response.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes your response is direction for me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes your response is all I need to know how to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be times, and as Kendria said, don't wait for apologies that are not going to
no.
come. You need to do what you need to do for yourself and know within you that it's okay. It's okay to walk away.
Sure
It's
is.
okay to delete numbers, block
Mm-hmm.
numbers, remove contact information. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it,
Pull them off your Facebook and your
Yeah.
Insta.
stop following, unfollow,
Yep.
whatever. It is okay to do that, and you don't have to give explanations. And I have always said, you don't get to hurt me and then you determine how I respond to that hurt. It
Yeah.
doesn't it doesn't
Mhm.
work like that. But forgiveness is absolutely essential, and I can say
Mm-hmm.
there are times I've had to forgive several times on the
Mm-hmm.
same issue, the same person. But
Yeah.
I make the decision to do it, to forgive,
Mm-hmm.
and move forward. And something else that you said, something that really, really helped me in dealing with my own mother is I could look back on my life and I could see how her mother treated her. I,
Yeah.
I could see it clear as a bell how my grandmother treated my mother and how she treated her sisters. And
Mm-hmm.
there are things that you see as a child that don't make sense until you get older.
Older. Mm-hmm.
Memories are things that come back to you. And so in some ways, the past brought me some clarity, and really helped me to get to a better place emotionally. And I'm still getting there. I'm still getting there, but I
Mm-hmm.
can say that I feel great in this moment because I can see that I'm making progress. But I also I want to make progress. Like
Yeah.
I didn't see these issues and friendships and just fall apart, leave it alone. That's just it. No,
Mm-hmm.
I said I gotta. Well, why is this happening? What is it? In me. And so I had to go back. Like, yeah, there's a deeper healing that needs to take place. There's a deeper healing in me. There's still some residue pain from
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, or just the initial pain of whatever, whenever that was never dealt with. So it
Mm-hmm.
made me do work, and I'm happy to be able to say, I feel what I feel, and I know I have to do something about it, and I am doing something about it, as opposed to being at a point in my life where it was like I'm shutting everything and everybody out and off, and
Mhm.
that's just it. So, Love Bay, I want to say, if you're at a point, if you're thinking, that's good.
Mhm.
If you're
Mm-hmm.
feeling something and you're like, no, I have to do something about this, that's
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're at a point, maybe if you are saying I made a bad decision, I
Mm-hmm.
chose this person, I chose these people, That's
Mhm.
good because you sit, you evaluate the situation, not tearing yourself down,
Mhm.
not coming down on yourself, but being honest with yourself. Being honest. Like, I didn't get here by myself. Why did I choose this person? Why did I let this happen? Because some things we do let happen. Some
Mhm.
things we let it slide and we ignore it until it gets to the second or third thing or the fourth thing, and and then something ignites it off. But you let that very first thing slide. Why did you do that? So I think it's beautiful when you find yourself in that place. It's
Mhm.
hard and it hurts, but it's
Mhm.
beautiful when you get there because you have the power over you to
Mhm.
and to keep going. And again, this is not easy. Um, I don't think we have had ever any conversation on this program that we could leave our listeners or viewers in a place saying that's an easy thing to do, because
No, no.
it's it's hard, it
Mhm.
hurts, it's embarrassing at times,
Mhm.
it's disappointing, but you don't stay there.
Mhm.
Work through it and get to the other side. And I think a beautiful thing that can come from having to deal with the effects of emotional abuse is that you can take the power back of your emotions. You can
Mhm.
get it back. Won't happen overnight, but you can get it back. Um, and again, it's not easy. It's hard. Um, but I advise everyone to do it. Do the
Yeah.
work, because
Do it.
at the end of the day, is it's worth it. And I've always
Mhm.
said, for me, this applied to romantic relationships. I've always
Mhm.
said, you know, when I meet my husband, when I meet the one, I do not want to be with a person who has not done the work that I've
Mhm.
done. Because nobody's perfect. Everybody
Mhm.
has something. I want to be with a person who has put the effort in
Mhm.
to his life, who has put the effort in to do whatever needs to be done. If you're already in a good place, great. I want to see someone who put in the effort to get to a better place, better than good. I don't want to be the only one who's put the work in, because I know how valuable that is.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
know what it takes to be in this place, in this space, to just be alone and whole. That's a good space to be in. It's not easy to get to. And once you get there, you got to work to not be pulled out of it.
No, no.
So, and I think that right there. So, Kendria, I would, ask your thoughts on that. Being in that place where you are
Mhm.
alone and whole,
Mhm.
what it takes to stay there.
Oh, yeah, because I am currently single. I've been single again, I have trust issues as well. But I've been single my whole life pretty much. I've never been married. And that's the direct result of, my background and my history. It's not that I haven't been asked, but none of them were good enough for me.
I
So
know.
I would say I am an expert. I just said that to say I'm an expert on, being single, being alone, finding fulfillment in my career, finding fulfillment in other, areas of my life, and writing books and things that I do, and traveling. I love to travel. Um, I would say falling in love with yourself. This is just piggybacking on what you've already said about doing the work and healing.
Mhm.
Once you've done the work and spend some time with yourself, not being afraid to spend time with yourself and really get to know who you are and what you want and what you like, and what motivates you, what gives you purpose, what gives you meaning. Once you find those inner things about you, to fall in love with them and love them. The other thing I would probably add to that is be in love with your faults as well. Just be comfortable with them. I
Mhm.
think I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I don't always call you back when you call me. I'm not good at texting back. Just I'm not good at it. I'm sorry, people. I will get back to you when I have time. That's just one of my faults. This is one. But I have a whole chapter in my book where I list 25 things that are wrong with me. I do. 25 mistakes that I make on a regular basis. And I still think I'm the greatest thing that God ever made. I think that when he made me, he broke the mold. I still believe that the sun don't get up, don't shine till I get up. I still believe that, even though there's all these things that's wrong with me. T, if you call me on a Monday, you might not get me back until Friday. Don't take it personally. I still love you. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I'm not good at calling people back. That's just one of my flaws, right? But be comfortable with your flaws. See, a lot of people don't want to be alone because they don't want to deal with the things we're talking about right now amongst
Yeah.
ourselves. And we're practically strangers, right? We know each other, but we don't know each other.
Yeah.
And they're not comfortable talking to anyone about that. And so I have to fill my life with bad people because I'd rather have bad people in my life than have nobody. I need to fill my life with a job that's sucking all the life out of me because I don't have to deal with my issues. That was one of my issues. And, I don't want to deal with my family members, but, I'll go find all these other people that remind me of them and treat me bad. So they don't want to do the work. They don't want to do it. They're running away from it and they just keep running into the same thing over and over and over again, right? And so be comfortable with who you are, be comfortable being by yourself and spending time with yourself. I've gone on many, many, many vacations alone. And you
Hmm.
will find out about who you are being in these foreign countries by yourself. And I still love me. I think I'm the greatest thing ever. I love my tenacity. I love when I make mistakes. I love it when I, fall flat on my face and say, girl, you messed that up. Get on out there. You still cute. Get on out there and do it again. And being comfortable with that and being okay is the reason why I'm confident. It is
Yes.
not because I do it all right all the time. It is not because I make the right decisions all the time. It is definitely not because I have the perfect background. It's because I'm going to get out there and keep trying. I'm going to
Hmm.
get out there and love me. And if you want to love me, great. If you don't, I'm sorry to hear that because you just missed out. You know what I mean? Like how you feel about me really ain't my business. I love me and I love people that love me. So
Yes.
those are my two. That would be what I would add to you, Miss Tia.
Well, that is awesome. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember talking to a friend. I was talking about myself, um, and there was something that he pointed out, and I said, "Well, that's just one of my quirks. I have some quirks," and we just bust out laughing
Yeah.
because I have some quirks. There are some quirky things about me.
Mhm.
Um, I I love one of the things that I asked God for, that I asked Him to do for me, was to give me my smile back. I used to
Mhm.
smile all the time, like I couldn't help. Like even when I was a little girl, when
Yeah.
I would get in trouble for stuff, I would be smiling.
Mhm.
Like I wasn't trying to be smart or anything. I just couldn't hold it in. And the only thing that saved me was that my mom would do the same thing. So she knew
Mhm.
I wasn't playing. But I will always have a smile on my face. And so I asked God to give me my smile back, that pure smile, not when I was faking it and trying to just,
Mhm.
get through. So I smile all the time.
Mhm.
And then there are times that I would be laughing, like I can have a thought and like I can't get it out. I just start
Mhm.
laughing and
Mhm.
I would laugh to myself so
Mhm.
hard before I could even get the words out. And I would have people
Mhm.
around me just cracking up. That's one of my quirky things.
Right.
But I love that. I love that about me. I love
Mhm.
being me. And I don't explain me. You
Mhm.
either know me or you don't. And
Yeah.
that's okay. Um, I had a conversation with a young lady about a week ago. She was going through some things, and she kept saying, I'm bored. I want to get out of the house. I want to just get out there, but I'm afraid. So I said, this is what you do. I gave her money. I said, take yourself out, take yourself to
A
lunch,
date.
dinner,
Mhm.
or something.
Mhm.
Go by yourself. And she said, I can't
Mhm.
do it by myself. So I said, that's a problem. And you have to figure out why. Why can't
Mhm.
you be with yourself? Why can't you sit with yourself? Uh,
Mhm.
even if you sit and read a book or write in the, you can go in a restaurant, go in a park. You need to understand why you can't do this.
Mhm.
And she said, I really, really want to try. So I said, okay, leave the house. Just go
Mhm.
do something. Walk around the block a couple times. And so she worked up the nerve. It took her a couple days, and then she let me know she went on her house. She spent the afternoon out, and she had a beautiful time. She got
Right.
dressed up, makeup, everything looked
Mhm.
beautiful just to spend the afternoon with herself. And
Mhm.
that's what you have to do on a
You do.
regular basis. You have to be able to be with yourself, because
Mhm.
if you can't be with you, why would you expect that?
Anybody else do it,
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
Like you need to know you. You have to
Yes.
be happy. You have to make yourself happy. You have to be okay. And so I think it's just interesting, that I have these conversations with women of all ages. The age does not matter. I've met teenagers who are afraid to be in a room that is quiet. They have to be on the phone. The TV has to be on. They don't know how to be with themselves. They don't know themselves. And so I think that's very interesting. So Bob, I would ask you from, I guess, the point of view of a man. Would that be, is that an issue? I guess just speaking in general, that men would deal with being able to be with yourself, to know yourself, love yourself. Is that the same?
With some people, yeah, I think it is. While we were having this conversation, an old mantra of mine came through my head was that there's a difference between being alone and being lonely.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference. And as you know, T, I do a lot of work with Native American population, the MMIW issue, and I'm absolutely convinced that the ancestors were smarter in some areas than we were, because in that culture, you make time to go be by yourself.
Yeah.
You sit and you talk, you find who you are in here. And you come back a different person. Now, I think that, but I'm thinking of one person who was a friend who he did not like he struggled with it, being alone. And yeah, I think it's something that many people do struggle with, male and female.
Yeah.
I know when you were saying I chuckled. I was in the Navy and I was very fortunate. I got sent to Northwestern Europe, which was a great place for duty. But whenever I had my leave time, I was on my own. I went on. I didn't follow the group. I went touring on my own, and people were like, "Well, no, I'm not upset with anybody. I just want time." I remember distinctly in college, all my friends were all going to a big block party up in New York, and I said, "Have a nice weekend." Where are you going? I said, "I'm going to the ocean." By yourself? Yes. What are you going to do? Well, maybe rent a surfboard and try to hurt myself, and then sit on the beach and watch water. And even then, people were like, "You want to be alone?" No, I don't. I don't want to be alone as in isolated, but I need time to recharge my battery and talk to myself. And it's funny because, again, my wife, God, knock wood, Tia, you've heard me say this before. Linda's been nominated for sainthood for putting up with me for 44 years. We just came from opposite ends of the spectrum. Our family was very, very central, nuclear family. Everybody was there for Sunday dinner. My family was the exact opposite. As a matter of fact, it was probably easier to learn to be alone in my family because nobody wanted to be in the same room with each other. You went and found your safe corner. But for a while, Linda would take it almost personal, and I'm like, "Look, I'm going to go upstairs for a while." And I'm not mad at you.
just not mad. Yeah,
I'm not mad at anybody. And sometimes people don't believe you when you say that. I'm not mad at anybody. I just need to sit back and listen, not to sound, like
they think I'm depressed because I want to go talk about the ocean by myself. Like, no, I'm not depressed. As a matter of fact, it's quite the opposite.
Not at all.
That goes into the part of not having to give an explanation. I'm not going to stand here and explain. I need time to myself.
Yeah. I mean, I know some of my neighbors just kind of chuckle because if I'm out back and there's a hawk in a tree, I'll be there till that hawk moves. And they're like, "What are you looking at? The hawk?" It's but yeah.
Bob, are you 1/16 black? Because I feel like we know each other already. Like we've been related in another life.
You know what? I probably had. I'm definitely one of those old soul people. So
yeah, you have old soul. Because I would sit there and watch a bird. Like, look at that bird.
Yeah, I am fascinated. In fact, probably my wife sometimes just chuckles because she's like, "The dog just follows you everywhere." Every dog we've ever owned, she's like, "That's your best friend." I said, "You know what? Because I know exactly what that dog is. When I come in at the end of the day, he's going to be wagging his tail and he is happy to see me. And I don't have to explain anything." He's just, there he is. He's scratching my head and I'm a happy camper. But, and it's good to take that time because you walk away understanding yourself.
Yeah.
You do. It's not to say that may not change over the years,
Hmm.
but it's okay, and that's okay. As you know, I've gone back into working in theater and things of that nature, and that's an art. And there are in that role, if I'm going to assume or paint a picture for people to watch while I'm painting it, I need to be alone, but I need to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
I need to analyze me and that character. And where does me come into that character? Or how did that character and I line up with each other? You got to be
Yeah.
honest with yourself. Otherwise, your performance is, oh, where are you know? No. I don't. No. So
Absolutely. I thank you so much, both, for everything that you've shared. Kendria, I want to give you the last words of
Oh,
this
okay.
evening, what you would leave our listeners with. Absolutely. Please share your contact information again, and your books, and where your books are available. But I myself, listeners, I just want to say, Love Bay, be who you are, love who you are, um, enjoy being with yourself. And when you are with yourself, when you are in your peace, if someone breaks your peace, if someone destroys your peace, if there's a situation that destroys your peace, you need to change some things. You need to do something different. So if you are in solitude and you're okay, and I'm not
Mhm,
talking about hiding, not talking about isolating yourself,
mhm,
not talking about running away. If you are with yourself and you have a true peace, and somebody steps in and breaks that, something is wrong. You got to do something different. So that's the last thing that I would say about that. But Kendra, if you would please share your contact information, your book information, and leave us with the last word of this evening.
Oh wow, pressure, pressure. Okay, so thank you so much for having me. It was a joy to meet you, Bob, and to meet everybody on this panel. I would just advise the listeners to talk to someone. Make
Mhm.
sure that you talk to someone if you're feeling any kind of way, whether it's, you could be having a great day. Maybe you call a friend and say, I'm having a really great day. The day's great. Or getting counseling. But like Tia said in the very beginning, counseling and prayer, if that's what you believe in, both of them go hand in hand. And being okay with being who you are, and being okay with your faults and your weaknesses, and being okay with the mistakes that you've made, and being okay with your past. If you need help processing those things, please go and find help. There's nothing wrong with reaching outside of yourself and saying, hey, I'm not doing okay, can you help me?
Mhm.
And so I would just leave the listeners with that. No matter what profession you're in, no matter what background you're from, all of us need support. Okay. And with that, if you want to contact me and find out when my next workshops are and when I'll be in the States next doing workshops, I'm at www.iamkendriaj.com, KENDRIAJ.com. And all of my contact information there, even my phone number is there if you want to hit me up on a text message or email me. And I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Kendria Johnson. I am the teacher coach. I make good teachers great by bringing them out of burnout back into a balanced life. Be exceptional.
Thank you so much, Kendria. Thank you, Bob, for being with us. Love Bay, we will absolutely have Kendria back with us.
absolutely.
If
Yeah.
you want to catch up on previous episodes of our program, you can visit our YouTube channel, Suffering in Silence DV. We thank you so much for joining Suffering in Silence with Evangelist Tia on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Love Bay, we want you to remember that we are rising out of the ashes together. Good evening.
Like yourself.